Professor Squaz from California State of University is expressing his
That's a big boom wheel
speech on
that you turn.
energy, on electrical energy, that
Always
is
well.
solar energy,
It's a
and
it's
he's
a tough
focusing
place to
on
work.
his
It's really
speech
loud.
regarding
It's really hot. Thin stainless does not conduct heat
solar
well.
cooking.
They made them out of aluminium in Uganda, and I said it'll never work. And you touch the outside, it's hot, right? Because aluminium conducts heat so well. And so yes, we had to do some cooking, and there's a really important attribute here, and that is we have nonprofits in the mix. So, um, yes or no, I've heard of PETA. One, two, three. PETA is People, Energy, Environment, Development Association. Okay, so that's Biraj runs PETA. And then the three on the right are from RERL. Yes or no, I've heard of RERL. One, two, three. You should know. Listen, renewable energy for rural livelihood. Okay? And the reason they're important is because if they like your product, they're just going to buy hundreds of them. And in particular, they're the ones that commissioned these water heaters. And so they saw the cooker, and they said, he looked at it and goes, this is exactly what we need in the alpine areas where they don't have biomass, they can't even get enough yak dung, and we have to helicopter in natural gas, or liquefying petroleum gas. But it better have thermal storage. It's got to have thermal storage. So we got everything we need here in Nepal. It really is, I can't agree with you. I cannot say that Nepal is an economic or industrial backwater. And maybe you need to travel through Africa for 7 months, but we have a factory that's making them. We have right next door, we have a pot company. We have a ceramic heater. We have plastic injection molding. I didn't even add, the foundry is right around the corner from us. And we have an electronic dealer and government. We don't have everything. What we need is an academic partner. And we need someone to own the project. And so, in my development class, one of the things that we talk about is that when you take your project to a low-income community, you are destined to fail because it's your project and not their project. When you come to a new place, what you need to do is find their project and support it. Or convince them that your project, they want it to be their project. And I can tell you, things are great here. Like, I had so much support, but it is still my project, right? And I'm open to different models. I could be wrong, because as soon as Bikram, the guy who runs Yantrashala, when he finds he's making money producing these, he might take ownership. So I'm open to all this, but it's not the same as having an academic partner somewhere saying, we want to research this and make it better. And so now, I'm almost done. I want to talk about two challenges that I still have, okay? Is we need to control the temperature, because if you leave this insulated cooker, it will melt the aluminium. It will potentially start a fire, right? And we also need to optimize solar panels. And you can buy, yes or no, I know what a maximum power point solar charger is. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'll explain it a little bit. But you can buy them for $60, but for $60 you can buy 2 more solar panels, right? So it's too expensive. So let me talk about, we can buy these, and this is what we're going to start with, but they're $14.50, and you have to program them. This is a scientific instrument. These cost $2 or $3 with Alibaba, and they just tell you the temperature, but they won't turn off the power at 500 Celsius. And so we need someone, listen, we need someone to hack this so they can bring it out and throw a JFET to turn off the power when it gets to 500. I think the circuit should cost 50 cents, right? But I'm not going to do it. And my daughter's coming, by the way. All invited to meet her when she gets here, maybe in a couple weeks. But she's bringing a bunch of these with her. So I bought several of those. The other one is how do we, yes or no, I see these and I know what they are. 1, 2, 3. Yes. This is the current voltage output for a solar panel, right? And what it tells you is the amount of current you get from a solar panel is determined by the rate of photons elevating electrons, right? And as you increase the voltage, you still get the same current until you get to a voltage that's too high and the electrons are not elevated to that, right? And so then your current drops off to 0 really fast. Now, the thing about this is you can't use power is equal to V squared over R, because as you change the resistance, you're changing both the current and the voltage. So you have to work with this curve, okay? And what you can, and also voltage and current. The power is the area of the rectangle, not the area under this curve. It's the area of the rectangle defined by your working point, right? And so if you have a very high resistance, means low current, right? You'll have very low power because you have very low current. Right? If you have very low resistance, you'll have very low power because you have low voltage, right? And so what you do, of course, is you pick the maximum power point, right? For this solar panels that we use, 6 amps, 20 volts, 3 ohms. Perfect. All the time? Yes or no? 1, 2, 3. No, not all the time, because when the sun changes angle, when it's overcast, the current drops, but the voltage, stays the same. And so when you find when you find yourself with low current, you wish you had a higher resistance in your load, right? And so what do? Well, there are bunches of things you can do. You can get a buck converter and do a transformation in voltage. You can get a maximum power point, but you could do something really simple, and that is just have a bunch of different resistors. How easy would it be? I'm making my own heaters, right? So I can take that long, high resistance filament and then access it with 3 or 4 electrodes. And you don't need 500 resistors. 3 or 4 will be just fine. Because once you get way low, there's no power anyway, so forget it. Right? So all I need is, I'm going to do this where you have a bunch of different switches and you change it. You think that's going to work where we have people change the power all the time? Yes or no? 1, 2, 3. No. So we just need a simple circuit that looks at the current and chooses, and this is not, and everybody wants to do Arduinos, microprocessors. No, you just need, what is it, a 741? You just do a comparison. But I have.
Okay, any question?
I saw a hand in the back. But when you have cold rolled aluminium that comes off of the press from a factory, it's pretty clean. And so and I didn't say this, but that's what they're making the pots from. When you spin a pot, it's not made from casted aluminum, right? And so but the thing is recycled aluminum is really cheap. It's like $1 a kilogram, as opposed to virgin aluminum is $3 a kilogram. And I think I'm paying $5 a kilogram for the finished pots, right? And so what I'm doing is we have a foundry and we use the recycled aluminum to make this big puck, right? And then we're going to secure a pot onto the top, right? And I was going to do that today, but it might be tomorrow. What I did is I bought some zinc, and I'm going to put it in there and then put it in the cooker, and the zinc melts at 420. And so it might limit our, I don't know the phase diagram, like how that's going to play out. Melt them together, okay? Because we've done a lot of work with an aluminum pot, and you put the pot on top, and they're flat, and they meet, and you get about 200-300 watts of thermal flow if you have 200 degrees difference between them. Not a lot. If it's the same piece of aluminum, you get 100,000 watts, right? It's a huge difference. So that's one of the challenges that potentially is solved. We'll just see how it goes when I try to melt these together. So I answered your question as well.
That you have seen shown us like that heater with that nichrome coil you have seen. So that previously we used to use that heater. So like in the same constant heat we can't cook our food. That's why it is not feasible. So how you are that controlling that one?
Yeah, so there are, I want to answer this on a number of levels, right? One is, this isn't going to be perfect, right? You have ways of controlling the heat on your fire, and there's no knob, right? You pull the wood out. So you could turn it on and off. But we can also, I mentioned that we're making our own heaters. So I can take a long heater and I can attach in different places. So I do plan to have in our prototype that incidentally, RERL is very obsessed about safety, right? So I don't even have to worry about safety because they're going to look at it and say, no, you got to change this, right? So when I present this prototype to RERL, so my next step is I'm going to do head-to-head comparisons between ISO cooking and induction cooking, because we have this, like I said, a government commitment in Nepal and India to electrify cooking, but the go-to is induction cookers, right? That's.
Teacher, you need to unmute yourself.
I need to unmute myself.
Yeah, so you're online, and also, just so you know, there are 4 questions online.
Okay. Let me see if I can find now.